You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, a Jasper County judge hands down a sentence of life without parole to a Joplin man.
For weeks on end, we talked about how warm October was. Well, the first week of November, we're going to talk about a chill in the air. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, the first of about 250 Afghan refugees begins a new life in Rhode Island. All that and more coming up.
Watch News starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. A Joplin man gets life in prison for murder. Last month, a jury convicted Stephen Thompson of killing Carissa Gerard and critically injuring his estranged wife, Christina Thompson, in 2015. On Friday, a Jasper County judge handed down Thompson's sentences. He gets life in prison without the possibility of parole for first-degree murder. Thompson also got a total of 130 years on other charges to be served consecutively. Joplin school officials celebrate the opening of a new learning space at Kelsey Norman Elementary. The district added around 8,300 feet of space to the school.
By expanding this space at Kelsey Norman, we're able to keep students within this zone and this neighborhood and move out of the modular units that have been in the back of this campus for a while and have adequate space once again.
The cost of construction is covered by taxpayers who approved a $25 million bond last year. $3 million went into the project. The remaining funds are to be used in the construction of the new Dover Hill Elementary School that will replace Columbia and West Central Elementaries. Some brave men on Friday helped wrap up Breast Cancer Awareness Month in style. High style. Guys raced, or at least wobbled in high heels in the first ever Freeman Health System stiletto sprint as a crowd cheered them on. Participants included Joplin city leaders and also some area media representatives. Among them, our very own Chris Warner, who's rocking heels there in the middle. Oh, and by the way, Mayor Ryan Stanley, nice legs. Well, neither the mayor nor Chris won the race. That honor goes to KCU's Travis Renfro.
Happy to be here to represent KCU and do something fun and bring awareness to breast cancer, and it feels amazing to win. I always want to win. Anytime I do something like this, I always try to make sure that I'm being competitive. So I'm a competitive person and I like to win. So
Renfro took home the golden high heel trophy. Every year, many people want to celebrate Halloween by going into a haunted house, but how much work goes into setting one of these up? KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with the owners and cast of a haunted house in Carl Junction to find out, and has a special reason that causes them to put one on every year.
It's that time of year when people of all ages get into the Halloween spirit. Here in the 4 states, many do that at a haunted house.
So if you just go right down the road, you're gonna find 2 more haunted houses. If you go just right up the road a little bit, you're gonna find another one. If you go into Parsons, you're gonna find one.
These houses that open every year don't happen overnight. In fact, Maggie Etris, the owner of Wolfman's House of Screams, says she started planning next year's haunt before the current season even ends.
So we just start planning what would look good, what would be good. So we just write all that down and then we get the materials.
The name of this haunted house hits close to home for Etris.
Wolfman's has been around since 2003 by my dad, the Reggie the Wolfman Pippin, and he did most of the hard work. And so I've been doing this with him since I was in junior high. And so he dressed me up. He always dressed up like the Wolfman.
For other longtime cast members like Glenn Reinman, who's been doing this for 16 out of the 18 years this haunted house has run, it's about making sure everyone, especially the kids, can enjoy the scary fun.
For my friend. He asked me to do it. Been here ever since. Reggie's thing was he wanted the kids to enjoy it, to understand what it's all about. It's just all fun.
So they work together all year long to put on a good show for Halloween for their loved one's memory.
Anything I can do to give back to the community and I can use my dad's memory to do that is what we do.
In Carl Junction, Bronte Sorotsky, KUAM News.
Haunted house runs on volunteers, and the owner says they work to make it bigger and better every year in her father's memory. NASA releases a 3-dimensional view of Jupiter's atmosphere. It was taken from the Juno mission, which has been circling the gas giant since 2016. In the latest discovery, scientists learned Jupiter's Great Red Spot is much deeper than they originally thought. The storm is between 124 and 311 miles deep. That's about as deep within Jupiter as the International Space Station is above our heads. Scientists also have learned that the storm is getting smaller. In 1979, the Great Red Spot was twice the Earth's diameter, but it has shrunk by at least a third since then. NASA's Juno probe is expected to continue monitoring Jupiter through September of 2025.
Shrinking and moving. Very interesting.
Interesting.
Quite, I'd love to know what's in there. Never will in my lifetime, but I still would love to know. All right, Tanya, we were talking about how warm October was, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we finally got our data in from midnight. That's what I needed. I needed the official data. Take that for data, in the words of the old New Jersey Nets coach. I needed that to roll in from Joplin Regional Airport, and I cannot tell you that our average high for the entire month was 72.1 degrees. And our average temperature, when you factor in the high and the low, ended up being 62 degrees, which ranks 23rd historically. For all the talk that we had at the beginning of the month about how, oh, this could be the second warmest October on record, blah, blah, blah. And that was me doing the blah, blah, blahing, folks. Well aware that was me going blah, blah, blah. Ends up being 23rd on record and absolutely nothing to write home about. Current conditions over 7th and Range Line. It's a chilly beginning to the 1st of November as we sit at 42 degrees right now with even a wind chill in effect. You can knock off anywhere from 4 to 5 degrees as far as what we're seeing from actual temperatures to what it feels like. We have seen Miami and Welch creep up to the 45-degree mark. We've been as low as 37 is what we stand right now in Stockton. Clean Skywatch Storm Tracker, even this far rain up in the northwestern section that hasn't encroached upon our counties, but is pretty close, it's going to be able to avoid us as it'll just kind of skirt up to a little bit to the northeast there and head toward Kansas City, put on our Earth highlight there, and we can kind of take an exact look. And remember that blue-green that you're seeing, I'll remove the sweeping radar so you get a better indicator exactly where that rain is. We'll be dry here throughout the course of the morning. And yeah, that is some snow there in the upper plains rolling through portions of Nebraska and Iowa, and it will kind of cross the state line for northern Kansas and northern Missouri as well. Severe thunderstorm risk map looking great for today as far as the contiguous 48. We love to say that. It is going to be chilly though. Average high this time of year would be mid 60s, and we're going to be hard pressed to see a whole bunch of 50s by the time the afternoon is over. Speaking of the afternoon, here we go. A little light rain rolls through for the evening hours. Nothing severe by any means. More of a hindrance and a cold rain, remember, with our temperatures right there. Now, by the time we get into late Tuesday morning into the afternoon, now we've got some legitimate rainfall that's going to be a little bit more widespread, especially for the southern and western portions of the 4 states. Take us into Wednesday morning, and really no warm up in sight, as the best we have on the 7-day forecast is the mid 50s. And overnight lows, yeah, getting real close to the freezing mark there for Wednesday and Thursday, so we can fully expect frost advisories, if not freeze warnings, before the weekend.
All right, up next, first responders learn the ancient practice of yoga to benefit their bodies and minds. And later, meet a man who's a little bit of a treasure in Wichita, Kansas. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. This week, kids 5 to 11 could be eligible to roll up their sleeves for a COVID-19 vaccine as the authorization process for Pfizer's vaccine for that age group rolls right along. Britt Conway has more from doctors who break down some concerns, virus versus vaccine.
You're gonna do great. And go.
And the go-ahead for Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for kids 5 to 11 could happen this week. Recommendation of emergency use authorization from the FDA's vaccine advisors. Check. Official EUA from the FDA. Check. The CDC's vaccine advisors are set to vote tomorrow, and then the CDC director is expected to officially recommend it. So kids 5 to 11 could be getting their shots as soon as Wednesday.
This is awesome. There are no serious side effects given this lower dose of the vaccine to this lower group of kids, and it still protects kids from getting the infection.
But only about a quarter of parents say they'll get their kids vaccinated right away. 2/3 say they're worried it could affect their child's future fertility.
There's nothing in the data to suggest that. And there's nothing in the data to suggest that that happens with adults either. There's also no biologically plausible mechanism through which that would occur.
Between the virus and the vaccine, doctors say the greatest risk is COVID-19.
COVID has bad complications with children. Doesn't have it with all children, but has many. And it also has the complications in this young group of having long-term issues, whether it's having symptoms that last longer than 2 months, which is the long COVID that people talk about, or developing a very serious life-threatening condition called multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children. And if I have a choice, I'd rather use this super safe vaccine to get them back into school and back to their normal life.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
For almost 2 years, we've heard about the impacts brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. These impacts include the physical ones that come with contracting the virus, but they also include plenty of mental health impacts, and no one knows those better than first responders. Today, we take you to a yoga class in Phoenix, Arizona, that's teaching first responders how to use this ancient practice to focus on self-care during the time of the pandemic and beyond.
Exhale, fold.
40 first responders filled this yoga class at the Gilbert Public Safety and Training Facility. Part of today's training, all about mental health.
We are probably too quiet about it. We probably struggle with a lot of things that are at work that might be traumatic to us.
This week, O2X teaches first responders to focus on self-care.
Strength and conditioning, nutrition, sleep health, mental health and resiliency, dealing with stress.
Trainers say yoga helps crews relax their bodies and quiet their minds. It also helps them with mobility so they don't get hurt on the job.
I think if we're going to have any sort of longevity in a career like this, it's important to take care of ourselves.
Several departments throughout the valley have seen a rush of retirements. Gilbert Police Sergeant Scott Gallus hopes training like this keeps first responders on the job longer.
Retention is super important. I mean, it takes a full year to get a new recruit onto the road. And even then, they're not terribly well trained compared to somebody who has maybe 10 or 15 years on. So the ability to retain somebody who has a ton of training and expertise in certain areas certainly makes for a more versatile police force.
I think this would really help with our longevity, like mentally and physically, like our hearts being stronger, our minds being stronger.
Keeping crews safer and prepared to handle struggles the job can bring.
Namaste.
Well, its best friend is sugar, and you'll find it in sweet and savory foods, breakfast foods, dinner, and dessert. It's cinnamon. Today is National Cinnamon Day. Pumpkin spice would just be pumpkin nice without cinnamon. Cinnamon buns would, well, just be buns. And who wants to eat a cereal called Toast Crunch instead of Cinnamon Toast Crunch? Have you tried it in chili? It's sinfully delicious. No wonder it's the most often purchased of all holiday spices. Cinnamon's big day is all thanks to McCormick and Company. Yes, the spice company makes sense. They started it up in 2019. All the more reason to spice up your day with America's favorite spice. I like cinnamon.
I do too.
Just don't eat it by itself.
Just on toast.
Just a little bit of sugar and cinnamon?
No, I'm not a sugar fan.
I like making a cinnamon sugar blend.
Yeah, I just will rock a little cinnamon on some toast.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, can't beat it. Little dash in the coffee every now and then. A splash, a pinch, a skosh.
A little skosh, yeah. It's good with a.
That's only when I don't have a measuring cup with me. And for all of you
is
people
a skosh
that, by the
more
way,
than
for,
a pinch,
for
Michael?
all of you people that bake and cook without measuring cups and teaspoons, you know who you are. You know. And you make it taste so good, even though you don't measure anything, you know who you are.
I'm hungry for cinnamon rolls right now, Michael.
I'm one of those dudes that's like 1/3 of a cup. Okay, I must exactly have 1/3 of a cup. And I can't even get it to taste good after that. I know who you are too. Daily Almanac for November the 1. We should be up to 65 degrees during the afternoon. We are not going to come close to that for some time. 42 degrees is where we stand right now over 7th and Range Line. We've still got about 20 minutes until sunrise, and with the cloud cover, we're not going to see a whole lot of it early. Temperatures ranging anywhere from 37 in Stockton up to 45 in Miami and in Welch. Pittsburgh sits at 41. Even though the wind's just coming in 5 to 10 miles per hour, it has made a difference as far as our wind chill, as we've dipped as low as 32 degrees as far as what it feels like in Cassville and 33 in Mount Vernon. The best we have is 39 in Parsons. We don't even have a wind chill that's above 40 degrees right now. All the rain does stay to the northwest of us on the Skywatch storm tracker, and that's a pretty good storm rolling through the plains right there. And so really no surprise when you factor in the snow that they're having, that they're in the midst of freeze warnings. That's indicated in the purple. And believe it or not, by the end of this week, we may find ourselves in the exact same situation. Then we see that change over into flood warnings as the storm system moves through portions of Illinois and Indiana. But as it stays to the north of us, we're just stuck with a little cold. On top of that, yeah, a couple of those panels have some raindrops on them because forming later on this afternoon, working from west to east, some light rain rolls through. Doesn't last too long. The one that will last long is the one that forms Tuesday afternoon. A band from the northwest down to the southeast, most of the rain for our south and western counties, and not really giving up until Wednesday morning. After that, yeah, remember that average high of 65? We're going to have to wait a while before it returns. Overnight lows close to freezing Wednesday night and Thursday night. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 after this. The first of about 250 Afghan evacuees are starting the process of resettling in Rhode Island. That includes one father and interpreter who helped U.S. forces in combat. Here's their story.
Just off a flight Saturday night, the Fakiri family took their first steps toward a new life in Rhode Island.
It was a hell of a journey. To be honest with you, it was a chaotic moment when we were getting out of Kabul.
Aminullah Fakiri once served as a frontline interpreter for U.S. military forces in Afghanistan. Like thousands of other Afghan families in mid-August, he says he was forced to flee his home province of Kunar as the Taliban moved in.
If I not have been gotten out, my life would have been in danger.
In fear, Fakiri and his pregnant wife, along with their 4 kids, ages 2 to 10, left behind all that they knew. He says they feel lucky to now be in the United States. What have you and your family lost at home?
We have lost everything. This is very emotional to me because my country got fallen. We went down.
Now they're beginning a new life in the Ocean State as part of a resettlement program.
When they arrive here, they've been fully vetted, and the vetting process is very rigorous, it's very long.
Fakiri's once long-distant friend, Jonathan Dater, is acting as a guide.
I'm an immigrant myself. My family adopted me as a baby, and it took a lot for me to get here.
So my life is gonna be like a newborn baby here. So I'm gonna start crawling and start, my new life and enroll my kids into school and enroll myself to some, good educational institutes.
Fakiri says he also hopes to be a voice for the Afghani people who have not been able to leave, including his own parents and siblings.
We believe that we will raise again and we will be a united nation once again.
We'll be back with this morning's 4-State Hero right after this.
It's time to honor today's 4-State hero, Sergeant Bryce Ransom, who served in the U.S. Marines from 2003 to 2007. Carl Junction, Missouri native, received the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal. We are proud to salute Bryce Ransom, our 4-State hero. Richard Barrett just turned 90 years old in Wichita, Kansas. Couldn't be happier. Richard has owned the local Dairy Queen for about 35 years now, and he and the DQ are both community staples. It's no doubt his birthday is cause for celebration.
Even on a rainy day.
How are ya?
The Dairy Queen on South Poplar is still popular.
Just about to go get some blizzards.
And there's a reason.
Chocolate ice cream cone?
The owner, Richard Barrett.
About 35 years.
A staple in South Wichita, running it mostly by himself.
I think he's a great guy. He looks like he's doing a fabulous job.
He seems like a pretty sweet guy. He's very talkative.
Treating his customers more like family.
You're too convenient for this neighborhood.
And if you're a repeat customer, don't bother telling him your order.
He gets a small cone every day.
But now those customers are giving back to him for his 90th birthday.
It was a bit overwhelming for me. I didn't expect anything like that at all.
Cards.
Thank you and happy birthday.
Lots of them.
I just can't realize that many people had that much interest in me.
Filled with thank yous and memories.
They're coming from all over, not just Wichita.
Showing his customers leave with more than just ice cream.
Large one?
And at 90 years old, he hasn't given up quite yet, sending people away with a sweet treat and a smile.
Not too many people have a job that they can make people happy.
Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, shoppers in Pittsburgh had a chance this weekend to take a look at what local boutiques had to offer. And Netflix releases a limited series on one of the most controversial athletes of the 21st century. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
Our state's most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7 o'clock. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Joplin man gets life in prison for murder. Last month, a jury convicted Stephen Thompson of killing Carissa Gerard and critically injuring his estranged wife, Christina Thompson, in 2015. Friday, a Jasper County judge handed down Thompson's sentences. He gets life in prison without the possibility of parole for first-degree murder. Thompson also got a total of 130 years on other charges to be served consecutively. Shoppers were out and about in downtown Pittsburgh Saturday for an annual event supporting local boutiques. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with area businesses about how this event helps them grow closer to the community.
A yearly tradition is back in Pittsburgh for its third year.
So the city of Pittsburgh puts it on, and it's the super cool event where we invite the community out to come and shop local.
The boutique crawl in Pittsburgh has shops in downtown joining forces to give back to shoppers, and they're doing it with some Halloween spirit.
Some places like give you a discount if you wear a costume. We're doing a spin the wheel, so you can spin the virtual wheel and get a discount that way.
The crawl gives customers a chance to browse new boutiques in Pittsburgh, which in turn helps them get more customers and gets them ready for the next season.
It's just kind of a fun way to celebrate the holiday for one, and kind of a good way to get people to come in and right before we're ready to decorate for our holiday season. So we all run different specials, and it's just a great promo to get everybody out and about in Pittsburgh.
It's actually one of our busier days of the year because people are shopping for the holidays. And it's really great to see the community come out and support local because I think it's the best way to shop.
For store owners, it's a time for them to connect with the people in their own community.
Gosh, just the fun of seeing everybody coming in. We've had, it's just the atmosphere. The weather's great today. It feels like a good fall day. We've been playing our Halloween music, which just kind of, it's just the atmosphere of it all. And I love fall, and just knowing that next is the kickoff to the holiday.
The crawl was not only good for area businesses, but also for them to build connections with their clientele. In Pittsburgh, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Anyone in the downtown area was also encouraged to dress up to fit the crawl's Halloween theme. Missouri Department of Agriculture announces 12 projects that will receive a grant to help with urban food insecurity. Joplin Empire Market was one of the 12 recipients on that list. The grant is a matching grant for $45,000 that the market will put towards a commercial kitchen. Officials with the Empire Market say that kitchen will help vendors provide more food options, as well as with the market's Sprouts program, which provides free meals to area children.
It's something that the market has wanted since day one when we opened the doors a little over 3 years ago now. And we're super excited to be able to finally start that process. It's going to be a pretty big project, but we're excited.
Empire Market is still in need of volunteers, and we've got a link to their site in this story on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Bourbon County Sheriff's Office is using a state grant to cut down on drug crimes. The county received a $113,000 grant that'll go towards the creation of a new position to assist local law enforcement. Drug crimes have become more prevalent in the county in recent years. The amount of meth seized doubled from 2017 to 2020.
We don't have anybody set aside just to focus on drug activity, and that's what these two new positions will do, is focus on the drug activity based on the intelligence that from law enforcement officers get or from citizens out in the community that call and say, hey, I think we have something going on in our neighborhood.
The grant was awarded by the Kansas Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. Some 8th graders from Joplin South Middle School got an early start to their Saturday in downtown. The students spent their morning planting flowers in the city's planters along Main Street from 1st to 8th Street and along Joplin Avenue around 6th Street. The group was planting fall flowers to help keep the planters fresh and pretty through the season.
Oh, it feels amazing, helping the community and everything. The flowers, it's a little impact, but a little can do a lot.
The flowers were provided by Albert's Greenhouse of Joplin. Plenty of people were on hand for the Fall Workday event over at Joplin's Peace Church Cemetery this weekend. The event was organized by the Peace Church Cemetery Association. Helping out with the cemetery cleanup were 50 to 60 cadets with the Joplin ROTC. Volunteers assisted with tree limb and weed removal and also placed section markers throughout the cemetery. Mexico returned Sunday to mass commemorations of the Day of the Dead after traditional visits to graveyards and massive public events were prohibited last year because of the coronavirus pandemic. Also known as El Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead is celebrated from October 31st to November 2nd. The holiday is a Mexican holiday where families welcome back the souls of their deceased relatives for a brief reunion. The reunion includes food, drink, and celebration. Now, one of the celebration events is a parade, which has dancing skeletons, regular dancers, and floats.
And with it being that, the common sight will also be the calavera. You will see many of those masks decorated throughout just about anywhere you go anymore. Become a very, very common sight as far as the couple days after Halloween. And there's a calavera right there in the 4 states. As far as what we're seeing outside of Television City, starting just to break at the horizon right there, we're actually 2 minutes past sunrise in Joplin. Herein lies our problem in Joplin. Look at that heavy cloud cover. So really hasn't even broke as of yet, and we're not going to get a whole lot of sunshine today. We'll get a peak every now and then early, but it's not going to be anything sustained and very cool temperatures. Only 42 degrees right now. At Joplin Regional Airport. 39 still in Nevada. That's one of our lone 30s that we're still hanging on to. 45 in Neodesha and Miami. So even our top spots are not that warm to begin our new month. The wind coming in from the northeast, just 5 to 10 miles per hour, but that's doing enough to put a wind chill into effect where everybody's in the 30s. Nowada's at 41. That's as good as we see right now. In fact, Cassville and Mount Vernon dropping as low as 33 degrees as far as what it feels like. We'll take off the sweeping radar and some of this up here to the north, light drizzle coming down, a couple sprinkles there making their way out of this larger system that's in the upper plains. Really not going to have a prolonged effect by any means. We'll have some light rain here this morning, more so for the afternoon and evening hours, but not widespread and certainly nothing serious. And thank goodness we're not part of that upper system because that's caused freeze warnings. They've got rain and snow up there. They've got the old wintry mix, and we hate to use that term since we've just opened up the month of November, but there's a look at the watches and warnings associated with that system, and that includes everything through Illinois and Indiana as it will make its way toward the Great Lakes. So we're very fortunate that it stays to the north of us. Our afternoon planner with mostly cloudy skies and not a whole lot of temperature budge. We'll see some 50s every now and then, but they're not going to be widespread, probably mid to high 40s as good as we're going to get. And we were talking about that rain. Here it comes in from the west, and not so much that northwest system, kind of generates out in central Kansas and then moves through us for the afternoon and evening hours and kind of dies off. So Tuesday morning will be looking good, albeit chilly. Tuesday late morning, afternoon, that's when we begin to pick up some sustained rain that works in from the west, works from our southwest or southeast up to our northwest right there. And so if you live in the south and if you live in the west, that's where you're going to see the majority of the rain. You'll notice if you live up north or even to the northeast, you're probably going to stay on the dry side all throughout Tuesday and Wednesday. Won't have any flooding concerns, nothing like what we had last week by any means, but it's going to be a cold rain because we have no time to warm up here. We don't get a lot of sunshine, and overnight lows dropping close to the freezing mark there on Wednesday and Thursday. Hello, November cold. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page in our morning Insta poll, our Something to Talk About, vaccination policies. San Francisco State University student Haley Herrera, that's her message right there that she got. She plans on finishing up here next semester, but she got a notification saying because of California's COVID vaccination policy, she has to submit a vaccination card or request an exemption, or spring registration goes on hold. And here's the catch. She only takes online classes, and she doesn't even go into the classroom. So our question for you is, how do you feel about mandatory vaccine policies? Right now, 61% of you, great thing about the Insta poll, we just saw an update right there. 61% of you disagree with any mandatory vaccination policy. 37% of you do agree with it. And then we've had a couple chime in with no opinion. And once again, you can make your voice heard each and every morning. You can either connect to us via our Facebook page, KOAM News Now, or go directly to the poll, koamnewsnow.com/vote. I got to duck down here. My eyes are bad. A new series explores the early life of one of the most talked about athletes of the 21st century. And we've got a Shakespearean tragedy returning to Broadway. Anthony Purra with our eye on entertainment.
Actress Ruth Negga is set to make her Broadway debut opposite Daniel Craig. The pair will star in a revival of Macbeth, with the James Bond star in the title role and the British actress as Lady Macbeth. The latest version of Shakespeare's tragedy opens in April. Kristen Stewart says she was scared to play Princess Diana in the new film Spencer.
You have to be able to do things you hate. You hate? There has to be two of you. There's the real one and the one they take pictures of.
The drama focuses on Diana's decision to end her marriage with Prince Charles and leave the royal family.
I spent a year and a half, I don't think I went to sleep or woke up without being like, oh man, I have to actually do that. So yeah, I was very scared. I think Diana's ghost was like, yo, you have to pull yourself together.
Spencer opens this Friday. A new limited series about Colin Kaepernick is now streaming on Netflix. Colin in Black and White focuses on how the former NFL quarterback's early life shaped him into the activist he's become.
I think the thing that you learn in the series is how that stick-to-itiveness, that I believe in this and I will kneel and I will sacrifice my career and I will not move and I won't take the easy way, where that came from.
Celebrated director Ava DuVernay co-created the series with Kaepernick, produced it, and directed one of its episodes. That's your eye on entertainment. Anthony Purra, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Leave it to us to come off of the Colin Kaepernick story and ask this question. When you see Daniel Craig anymore, do you think about Bond, James Bond, or do you think about Knives Out, where he just keeps on yelling, Marta Cabrera? We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
In another sign of progress at the G20 summit in Rome, the Biden administration has reached a deal to ease Trump-era sanctions on aluminum and steel. In exchange, the European Union will drop its retaliatory tariffs against U.S. brands like Harley-Davidson and U.S. products like Kentucky Bourbon. The agreement is a sign of de-escalating tensions between America and its European allies. The Biden administration will be repealing the 25% tariff on steel imports and a 10% tariff on aluminum levied in 2018 under former President Trump. U.S. manufacturers who rely on steel and aluminum had complained the tariffs hurt their business and caused an increase in consumer prices. The Justice Department and the Federal Trade Commission are suing a Utah company over claims that its nasal spray prevents COVID-19. Friday, the DOJ announced it filed a complaint against Exlear and its founder, Nathan Jones. In June of 2020, the FTC sent a warning letter to the company to stop making claims that are not supported by competent or reliable scientific evidence. But Clear continued to publish articles and videos claiming its nasal spray, quote, kills and or deactivates coronavirus. The Justice Department says the COVID-19 Consumer Protection Act prohibits deception acts or practices associated with the treatment, cure, prevention, mitigation, or diagnosis of COVID-19. So far, the company has not commented on the matter. Dole is recalling certain packages of its Garden Classic salads due to possible listeria contamination. FDA says the packages have a best buy date of October 25th. They come in 24 or 12-ounce sizes. Items were sold in 10 states under the names Dole, Marketside, Kroger, or Salad Classics. No illnesses have been reported, but listeria showed up during a routine test in Georgia. More details on the specific items included in the recall are on the FDA's website. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
This morning in Wisconsin, jury selection is expected to begin in the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse charged with shooting and killing 2 men during protests in Kenosha last year after the police shooting of Jacob Blake. Rittenhouse was 17 years old at the time. His lawyers say he went out with his AR-15 style rifle to protect businesses after arson and looting, and the shooting was in self-defense. The judge in the case has a long-standing rule of not allowing attorneys to refer to anyone as victims in the case. It's possible the words rioters or looters will be used instead. COVID concerns have temporarily shuttered a major amusement park in China, Shanghai Disneyland, announcing over the weekend the park's closed for at least the next few days after reports that someone with a confirmed case of COVID-19 visited the park. This is video showing medical workers and police officers inside the park. Officials say guests were required to take a COVID test before they left. Transition to outside of the mothership here. We saw a little sliver of sunshine earlier. That appears to be a thing of the past. And here we are over 7th and Rangeline with overcast skies. In a cool beginning to November, only 42 degrees in Joplin. Let's roll 42 in Chanute and Monette. 45 in Miami, 41 right now in Pittsburgh as the wind, albeit just 5 to 10 miles per hour, does come in from the northeast-east, providing us with a wind chill where only Nowata hangs above the 40-degree mark, and we've dropped as low as 33 in both Mount Vernon and in Cassville. A little light rain up to the north, a little fallout from this larger system. Luckily, we're not going to get anything sustained out of that because up there, as that thing follows the jet stream, they got a little bit of a mess up there in the upper plains. Check out that snow that's going to roll through as well as they're in the midst of freeze warnings. We're going to find ourselves with some freeze warnings here before it's all said and done. First off, we've got a little Monday, November 1 rain that's going to be on us. Highs in the high 40s, low 50s later this afternoon. And then the wind is going to pick up overnight. I think we got some wind chills right now. Wait until tomorrow morning. Here's what Future Track brings us. So this is the light rain for Monday that'll sweep through for the afternoon hours. Not a whole lot to talk about. And then Tuesday, late morning, and we get rolling as it works in from the west. Got a good line from the northwest down to the southeast. Kind of widespread there and getting wider as we work all the way through Wednesday. So we're going to be, once it begins on Tuesday, it's going to get just a tad bit wet for us. Here's the other factor that comes into play. Check out our overnight lows for both Wednesday and Thursday as we drop down close to freezing. So we can fully anticipate frost advisories, if not freeze warnings, before we get to the weekend. Tell you what, I hope you brought those plants in last week when we were talking about this, because if not, and they made it through, now is the time. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. President Biden is joining world leaders at a UN climate conference in Scotland. He spent the weekend at the G20 summit in Rome, where the need to confront global warming topped the agenda. The president also urged cooperation in easing the supply chain problems causing backlogs on everything from cars to computer chips. Supreme Court is set to begin hearing arguments on the Texas abortion law, which has all but halted abortions in the state for the past 2 months. The law bans abortions after about 6 weeks of pregnancy. The justices will decide whether the Biden administration and abortion providers can challenge the law. Thousands of American Airlines passengers saw their flights canceled this weekend. The carrier blamed bad weather and staffing shortages and were first felt at its largest hub in Dallas, Fort Worth. Earlier this month, rival carrier Southwest Airlines faced significant disruptions. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
Wednesday night. Now, granted, I want everybody to remember, this is just off of our latest model right here, and I do not want this to be supreme cause for concern. Just caught my eye when we ran the latest model on Future Track at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. More so an indicator of how cold it's going to be. Because you got to remember, our ground right now, our ground's doing well. It's not, it's not going to hold anything. So we're going to be okay. But yeah. As some will take a deeper dive into, not only here at the noon, but we'll keep on running those models here through the rest of the morning. Update you at noon, and of course, if we do see anything that we think is going to pop up, You know, Doug and Nick stay on top of that. I'll bring you the latest there tomorrow morning. Just know it's going to be cold, and we are going to get rain Tuesday and Wednesday. We're not going to be able to avoid that part. But it'll stay as rain. That's the good part.
All right, well, things got pretty spooky in downtown New Orleans over the weekend as one crew followed their Halloween tradition and put on a show in Jackson Square. Locals and tourists got to watch the 10th annual Thriller Halloween Flash Mob Spectacular Sunday afternoon. The group brought out their zombie and ghoul costumes and started performing the late Michael Jackson's iconic song. They do it every year to give the entire family something to look forward to.
Love the Big Easy. Cannot beat it. One of the greatest places in our contiguous 48. Thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We will be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.